Hello everybody, welcome to another Starfield video. This time we're going to be talking about the free animations, we're going to be talking about Firefly, Freelancer and how all of that appears to be in Starfield. Anyhow, let's get on with it, shall we, because there's an awful lot to talk about and I think you're going to be really excited at the end of this if it hasn't already occurred to you. Now let's start with the free videos. Now the free videos are animated videos, about 2-3 minutes long. You find them on YouTube. I'll probably put links below for you. But anyway, it says the cartoons, and one of them shows like a farmer's son trying to fix a ship up, but he can't get a part. Then a bandit lands on the planet, tries to rob them. He knocks him out, steals a part from his ship, gets his own ship working and blasts off. Quite a nice little story. The other one is about a couple of bandits on that pleasure planet. Or robbers, thieves, try to steal from the rich. And then one day they find a corporate type, almost dead at the side, and his colleague wants to shoot him and rob him. Right? Says, but the other one stops him. And he gets taken to a corporate tower. And this corporate tower, they give them a card, like a credit card with his name on it, like he's going up in the world. And the last one is a guy that joins the defence force. And he wants to defend the richest planets in the system. So you see him shooting up lots of bandits and things like that. Now each of these are stories designed, I think, to tell you what you can do in the game. Designed to tell you how the game can work. And there's no reason why one can't be all the others or vice versa. There's no reason why the farmer's son can't become a defender or the defender can't become a robber or a farmer's son. It's a point they're trying to make of styles of gameplay, which is good to see. But all of this reminds me of something, and I've already introduced it, I've already let the cat out of the bag. It reminds me of Firefly. Now Firefly, we've said this many times since Starfield was announced, it does feel like Firefly. You have a ship with a crew going around the galaxy, or star system in Firefly's case, right, so doing missions. That is Firefly. Right, so somebody's going to make the ship Firefly for it. Somebody is. Now, this is where it gets a bit more interesting. In my Freelancer days, when I was modding Freelancer, I was in the 3D editors making starships, mostly Babylon 5 ships, but also some Cylon ships and other bits and bobs. I did Hostile Universe for that game. Now, Freelancer was released and promptly abandoned by the developers. It was a Microsoft game made through another company, but they abandoned it almost second release. Only did 1 or 2 patches for it, and they were only minor. Then just left it. So the community took up the challenge of modding it, and it became a massive modded game, massive scene. Now I was heavily into it. I didn't just do massive packs and stuff like that. I made star systems, ships. Everybody who was a bit of a team player used to share their material, try and do a better job than the last guy, and you got a few people that used to just take and nick things without permission, but it was a really good modding scene. It was lots of fun. Some of my work influenced the X series because I showed them, Egosoft's X series when I was still level 6 developer. I showed them what I did there. I said, this would work really well in your game, because I did Ringworld. They also did things where you could get like an 8-planet eclipse in a star system where if you moved into the right position, all the planets would line up, right? But it wasn't immediately obvious that was the case because of the way I did it. It was quite clever. Anyway, I know you're thinking it must be a straight line, but it wasn't. Trust me. Anyway, pardon me. Anyway, it says the Freelancer community. I made Babylon 5 stuff, primarily Starfield, but I didn't just do that. And this is something Starfield modders need to consider as well, because the Freelancer modders made the mistake. They got a ship, really good ship, added it to the game, and that was it. They didn't do anything else, right? When you add a ship to the game, you need to modify it so it flies like the original should fly. Not just add it to the game and have it move forward, back and sideways. It has to fly like the original should fly. I'm not saying Starfield will allow that. It probably won't. But you should make an effort to make that, work that way. Even if it's down to limiting, what add-ons can be on that ship. You should make an effort. The other thing is, right, that like when I made the Star Fury, for instance, and the Thunderbolt, I had it so it can move sideways and and horizontally and other things like that in equal measure. Literally, it could go in any direction equally well. I mean, of course, you can boost it, go forward, but it could move in any direction. I also noticed the Membari ship, which I also made, the Membari fighter. When it fired the lasers from its default position, it blinded you. You couldn't see anything because the muzzle flash would just literally destroy your vision. So I come to the conclusion it's an alien thing. They probably got shutters on their eyes or something, that blink. But it wasn't possible to fly that without moving the lasers out a little bit further. So that was a design fault that Babylon 5's team couldn't possibly have known about unless they actually were flying one for real. But when I made it and put it in the game, I found that problem out straight away. So yeah. Anyway, we also Cylon ships and stuff like Vipers, Battlestar Galactica ships like Vipers and things like that. There's no reason why you can't get TIE fighters in there or anything from Star Wars either. And I think this is going to be a massive area for Starfield, because I think, given the fact you can design a ship you like, it's just a matter of time for people to start adding the parts needed to make these ships, or adding the ships as a whole object. I think it'd be a bit of a shame if they added these ships as a whole object. I think they should probably add the parts and let people build the ships, because that would be more fun. But if they do add the parts and let people build the ships, then you can add them parts to other ships. You could have TIE fighter wings on a standard freighter, for example. Make them a bit bigger. Job's a good one. But on the Starfield game, Freelancer game, this was a massive scene. People did mod packs of ships. It was one of the biggest things they did on the whole platform, like overhauls for Oblivion. It was that kind of thing. They were huge. You could only run one at a time, so there was a lot of competition. But people were fairly friendly. They exchanged parts, exchanged information, tried to outdo each other. And because it was all scripted and it was all in text, and you edit text files to make things work, you could teach each other little tricks and how to improve things, or try to outdo them in your version of the same thing. And it was challenging. I mean, I wouldn't say the Elder Scrolls community is mature enough to allow that without melting down and having a hissy fit, because I've seen what they did when I made 2 mods. They did have a hissy fit because they thought I was taking over the place. And there was an element of that in the Freelancer community as well, but not much. Those people tend to be few and far between. Most of the people who are making the big mods freely talked to each other, you shared ideas. It was a great environment. It was on Lancer's Reactor, that website. That's where I was modding at the time. So yeah, this is part of my modding history we're talking about here. But that element there, the ship element, the new ships you could fly, was a massive boost to that game. That game became a hit despite being abandoned by the developers. All it needed was somebody to make a tool to unpack the game files, and that was it. Modders did the rest. There was no editor. There was no official tools. It was all done with free stuff you found online. Unpack the things, edit the text files, put 3D files in, send it back. I used Milkshake 3D to do the editing. It didn't even cost me, 20 quid to buy shareware, and that was it. Or 16. Job's a good one, So anyhow, Starfield is heading down that road again. It's in that kind of zone where people are going to be able to make lots of ships and have them online. A bit like house mods and armour for Skyrim. This is going to be ships, how they look and design. I won't be surprised if internally they all look the same. Externally they may look a bit different though. But it is an exciting time if you're a sci-fi fan. And to add to it, Babylon 5 has been, prevented from having remakes done for 20 years because of one executive at Warner Brothers. That executive's retired now. So suddenly we've got Babylon 5's been remastered. It'll be available this Christmas. We've got a cartoon based on Babylon 5 coming out, or if it might already be out. There's talk of Firefly's being remade. And here we are with Starfield being made, and it is basically a game about Firefly, isn't it? Let's face it, right? It is Firefly in computer game format. I mean, I know Bethesda can't say that because they'll get sued, but in my mind, this is Firefly. Somebody's going to make Serenity for this game. It's going to be modded. It's going to be very popular, and people are going to end up naming characters if they can after the crew of the Serenity. You're going to see it. AI mods. For all the things, the brown coats, you name it, it's going to be there. We know it is. They're also, and I'm going to say it again. You know I'm going to say it. There's going to be a bug planet somewhere. Anyhow, it's exciting if you think about it. There's an awful lot there that can be done in Starfield that people haven't seen before, unless you're my age and been playing games as long as I have. And I loved it. When I first saw it happen, I loved it. It might be a bit old hat for me now, but you guys are in for a treat. See you in the next one.